Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Stock. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Today I would like to talk about some of the madness that we saw in the market, talk about some of the stocks that I like to follow, that I'm invested in, and talk about, gosh, what we saw with some of those in the growth stock area, because it was just rough for a lot of them. And then I would also like to talk about just a couple of opportunities that we have, at least ones that I feel are opportunities, ones that I'm really strongly considering buying prior to the after hours close today at 8 p.m. So stick around, check it out, let's get ready to rock. Welcome back. For those of you who are interested, down in the description is a link to my Patreon. If you want to come on over there, you can see the growth portfolio, which is, wow, getting roasted recently by all these sell-offs that we have. The dividend portfolio, which is actually still hanging in there like a champ, because it's older, more established companies. They're a little bit more resistant to the sell-offs that we have, so we don't see as big of moves, and therefore it's a little bit more boring, but it's also where some of the really good investing comes in, that we can see at least that more that less volatility, greater stability. Also over there I put out a weekly watch list of stocks, ones that I pick out myself, and then I also include picks from the patrons. Whatever they want to suggest, I'll toss onto that list, and so that way it's all combined together. Everybody has the ability to contribute, and then you can go down through there and take a look, see if there's anything that you like, maybe for the short term, long term. You know, you can make it a day trade, however you want to view it. You can do your research on it and, you know, see what you think. Maybe choose a couple of them, maybe choose one of them, maybe choose none of them, but at least that's over there. Also, I put out a weekly newsletter, and I've also started putting up Patreon exclusive videos that I plan on continuing to offer, that would be in addition to what you see here on YouTube. So stuff that doesn't make it to YouTube, but would also be offered through that membership. Also down in the description is a link to WeWool. By signing up and depositing $100, you get 2 free stocks. I get 2 free stocks for the referral. Thank you for any support that you show. Finally, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Let's get on to the stocks. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the what's happening with the Chinese EVs. So the news came up again about the possible delisting of foreign companies who don't meet the auditing standards. Specifically here, it would be China's companies not meeting the auditing standards as per the SEC guidelines, and they would have 3 years to go from being in non-compliance to going into compliance, and all they have to do, at least as far as I understand it, is agree to be audited and to make sure that all the numbers match up the way that they're supposed to, and then they're good to go from there. Well, that threat of delisting, it shakes investors out. They pop out of those stocks. You see the price drop, and usually it's drastic. Add on top of that the fact that tech plays and high growth plays are also dropping, and well, we have a what I call it in the Discord today, a triple whammy. You have a triple whammy of downward pressure, and there's so much pressure, I almost started breaking into song, the one by Queen and David Bowie, Pressure, the one that Vanilla Ice got sued over for stealing the hook. I'll spare you guys all the singing, because I am absolutely terrible at singing, I promise you, and I don't know. I think it might be bring bad things to the channel. Maybe upon popular request I would sing something, but I'll tell you what, it had to be real popular. I'm not afraid to, I just care about you guys. So moving on from there. So tech, high growth, and also on top of that, the EV market and the news that we got, again, about the delisting and the Chinese companies being ones that might be targeted by that, all that stuff just puts a lot of downward pressure on. And I don't know if I mentioned the market bias in that list of things, but I mean, absolutely that sort of market bias that we have, the fact that there are just, the market's depressed. When the market's down, then all the stocks tend to go down with it. So there's just a lot of downward pressure in general. I expect that there will be some sort of bounce. I don't know if that'll be tomorrow or if we'll see a little bit more of this residual drop tomorrow. Typically after a sharp sell-off day, you do experience a small bounce, or sometimes even a significant bounce. We'll have to just keep on watching and see what happens there. Let me share my screen and I'll talk about some specific companies. Alright, so I wasn't going to start here, but since I made such a big deal about the Chinese EVs, here's NIO. NIO is definitely my favorite of the Chinese EVs, one that I expected to perform the best out of all of them that I follow, that I invest in. So NIO, Li, and Xpeng are the ones that I that I happened to be in, and I did sell this near the top with my original position, and I've since taken a new position, expecting that it was a little bit too much of a run up too fast, and I really thought that this would stay up above the $60 mark and that we would have a fairly good ride all the way to that $90 to $100 range. Of course, we've had a big sell-off in tech and EV space going right down along with it, and then on top of that we also have the semiconductor issue, which I also forgot to mention for downward pressure, but there's more of it. And I mean, you just see just one problem after another, and it's precipitating, and all the way down to market close today just under $37 per share. So with NIO, I expect to see, if I look at any of the other Chinese EVs, they're going to be much the same story, so I don't really have to go into the other ones. We should recover from here. It might take a little bit of time. It might not make that $90 to $100 by year end, but certainly up from this share price that we have now at about $37. For me, I think my current dollar cost average is significantly above that, because when I took a new position from the profits that I had before, when I took that new position, I think I bought in somewhere around $42 or $45 per share. So even though that it's a somewhat large position for a small growth portfolio, this is still one that I consider maybe going into a little bit more, but I'm already heavily invested in the Chinese EV space, so that's my hesitation. If I didn't have any position in NIO right now, a price like this would certainly, I would be buying in a heartbeat. Maybe not a full position, but definitely dollar cost averaging into a position like this one. So this is just, I think it's an excellent opportunity. So if you're watching these, if you like them, do your research and your due diligence, see what you think, and see if you see the same opportunity that I do. All right, BNGO, they had their earnings, and the earnings, they were okay, but the part that wasn't so great about it was that it kind of says down the road, this is what we expect to happen, this is where we expect to be, and this is what we want from the company, in terms of their total addressable market and actually achieving, reaching that addressable market, and also increasing their market share. Everything is still down the road for them, and so that pace is something that kind of hurt them. And then on top of that, they also filed with the SEC a $350, that wouldn't be much at all, $350 million capital raise possibility that we have, and so you get share dilution. So between the market going down and also the ability to add more shares to their current pool of shares that they have, that's just something that'll help push the stock price down more. Right now at market close, $7.43. And if you see that as a buying opportunity, you can, but understand that it would be a speculative play, that they're still losing money, and you're going to be waiting a while for them to make that money. It is a company I like. It's a company that I'm invested in. I might take a slightly bigger position. I might dollar cost average into this to bring my price down. I used my profits from my last time that I was invested in this, because like I said, I was in around $2.40, and the last time I sold, I was up somewhere between, I think it was the $7 to $8 range. I'd have to go back and look at my notes on that one. I'll look at my paperwork and see what I have, but I'm somewhere around in there. Next is Skills, and with Skills, boy did it have trouble today. I never thought that I would see this drop down, breaking the support that we had at around $23 to $24 a share. I thought for sure that it would take a strong market bias, and while we definitely had that today with Skills, with again growth and high tech, all that selling off, but worse than that, they sort of let it slip that that there could be a possible warrant redemption, and with warrant redemption you get share dilution, and it would be 17 million, possibly 17 million more shares in that warrant redemption if it were to happen. And from this price of $19.99, that would bring it down, I think when I calculated, it was like $19.23 per share when you spread that money out across all of the shares, which would be somewhere, it'd be under 450 million shares. I believe it's like an $8.6 billion market cap when I was working with the numbers from Yahoo Finance. So it would be something that, it could easily depress it from here by another, 70 cents or so, 70 to 80 cents. So if we look intraday, just real quick, we can say, okay, well, it traded sideways intraday, so it's at least nice to see it leveling off a little bit, but it's after hours, it's low volume. I think that this one's going to bounce. I think that it was such poor timing, and when the warrant redemption, if it does get officially announced, because I believe that they withdrew their filing because they said it was accidental, but should they announce that warrant redemption, well, then it'll cause the stock price to tumble a little bit because share dilution comes along with it. So it's something to watch out for Skills. All right, sorry about that. The family returned home and had to take a moment. So Skills is another stock that I like the position that I have already. If I didn't have a position, this would be a price that would certainly be tempting. I think we're going to bounce off this one, the warrant redemption, even though it's not great news because of share dilution. Because of the number of outstanding shares that are out there already, it's not something that would be crushing to the stock price, and I think that we see a lot of overreaction here, a lot of overselling with the price, and I expect there to be, when the market does settle, we should have a really good bounce coming off of this, and I think that we will regain those low to mid 20s, at least in the very near term, and that possibly within the next month to 2 months, maybe even 3 months, that we'll see the mid to high 20s again. So just another stock to bring to your attention. All right, the Gnog stock, Golden Nugget Online Gaming. This is one where I tossed out just a warning that we might see a head and shoulders formation come up, and I realize I do like the fundamentals of the company, and the fundamentals should trump the technicals, but with the strong market bias, you can see this drop off that we have here, and if the market is kind to us, then we really should see this regain strength. But this big sell-off that we have here certainly is something that's going to throw out a lot of stop losses. It definitely over-penetrated where we would like to see. I didn't want to see it retrace over 50%, and today really drops it down, pretty close to the bottom of where we were at before. So it's just something that we want to be, continuously careful of when we look at this, that we don't want to see those prices fall too far, breaking support, because that can cause further sell-offs. And again, a more drop in the price. Some people would look at that as an opportunity. One of the things that brought this down today is a price target that was reduced from $27 as a 12-month price target down to $24 as a 12-month price target. So especially from $13.74 at close, you're looking at like $10 on top of this stock price. $10 is going to be, I don't know, like 60 or 70% upside from where it's at now. So that would be significantly gains from where we are at. That would bring us all the way up here within the next 12 months. So 27 down to 24, especially at the price that we're at right now, that's not a price target that worries me, especially when right now my dollar cost average is somewhere, I think it's in the low to mid 17s. So we still have to come back up considerably from where we're at, but I've got time, and I also have other stocks, other portfolios that I'm not too worried about. Just a small position that I have here, with Gnog being the defining stock of my investments. All right, just a small mention for ABML. This is one that we took as a play for lithium batteries recycling, and the groundbreaking that was supposed to happen for the building in Arizona, I think it's Fernley, Arizona. There was a symbolic one, sort of a ceremony back in September, and that was it so far. That's saying that they're working with the Environmental Protection Agency or whatever for Arizona, and also that they're working with getting the building permits in Fernley, and that's the news that we have so far. There was other news that came out about some research development opening, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because it's not the news that we need to hear in order to see the strength really come back to the stock price that we have. I think the catalyst that we'll have, especially in the face of the short seller report, which did make some good points. The biggest point that I think the short seller report had is that we're missing the evidence that they're a legitimate company. We want to see the plant being built in Fernley, Arizona. It doesn't have to be fully built and operational. We want like images of actual like ground clearing and construction in order to build our confidence as investors. And I think that's going to be a huge catalyst that would easily spike us. Being a small stock like this, 20, 30, maybe even 50%, and if people would be really excited about it, and if we had the right market bias with it, we could really see this thing hugely take off. And I don't know if it would reclaim some of the highs that it had before, but I think we would recover significantly. So the catalyst that I would like to point out, this is a company, I like the idea of it. I think a lot of people like the idea of it, and that's why we made it almost up to the $5 mark at one point in time, and that's also why we held near the $4 mark as going throughout here. As that pushback happens, as that delay happens for the construction, that is really going to keep depressing the investor confidence. It's going to keep on putting downward pressure on this. Plus we have the sell-off with the high growth stocks. and this is just another one of them. This is just a penny stock. The risk is always there that it goes to zero, and 90% of the companies do. So hopefully, I believe the guy's name is Doug Cole, the CEO. Hopefully he gives us some good news soon that actually matters. And the good news that we're looking for, the catalyst that I think that we need to have, is the actual building of their facility, of their pilot facility for the lithium battery recycling. And then I think we'll see the sort of movement that we want to see that gives us the faith that we need to have in order to remain invested in a company like this one. All right. I said that I would take a look at some of the companies that I think should get some attention and would be worth my investment, especially at the prices that they come in. So Roblox, I was hoping to see this one back around $60, and well, we're about as close as we're going to get. Right here, we closed at $64.50, and I think it bounced back up just a little bit. Last I looked, it was around $65 in the after hours. Yeah, $65.10 we're sitting at right now, and that's a price that I can at least start to nibble, and I can at least start to add to my growth portfolio. And I think that this is a platform that really has a lot of promise to it. And ARK Invest has their hat in the ring on this one, so they aim to double their position over a 5-year time horizon, and I'm okay with waiting that long for a company like this, and I can dollar cost average over time. I can watch as the company matures and their growth plays out, and I can follow that story, and I can choose whether to keep on investing, let my money sit there for a while, or I can choose to change my investment. All right, the stock that I have for you here is Snow, and this is the weekly chart, just so we can more easily see from the week that it IPO'd all the way until the closing price that we have here at $208.60. This was a stock that I absolutely loved, but I didn't want to pay the prices for it, and now that it's come all the way back down through all these big sell-offs and stuff that we have, you know, out of the pandemic, does it really still stand a chance? And I believe that Snow is one that really has a lot of serious potential to it. And when you look at the analyst prices that we have, the low being 250, 302, 515 for the biggest bullish case we have out of 27 analysts, I think that this one having, I think, a 25% upside over the next 12 months to the low analyst estimate that we have is a very reasonable estimate, and it would be a place I would absolutely love to be on board with a stock like this one. So this is another one that I will likely throw my hat in the ring tonight in the after hours here, see if I can snag a couple shares, add them into my growth portfolio, and I think that this company has a lot of good strength to it. Right now, we just have to play that waiting game, and I would rather buy in while these stocks are depressed in price and the valuations are down, because that's something I think will really help us out, especially experience that growth for those companies and shorten our time horizons for our return on our investments. Finally, here's our daily chart for Tesla, and when you look at this chart that we have for Tesla, you can see it dropped down to $630 per share. So we're still in that $600 range. It didn't have the same strength of sell-off that some of the other ones did today. Given the analysis from ARK Invest for this one, their bearish and their bullish cases and the growth potential that Tesla has over the next 5 years for theirs, or 4 to 5 years, out to even 2030, when they're expected to just keep right on growing with the EV market, the EV space, the renewable energies, battery storage, all that stuff. This is a company that I believe is just going to continue to grow, and it's also going to grow into its valuation over time. I also believe that within the year, we're going to see this stock come back into the $700 to $800 range. We might even see it go back up to that $900 if all the news is good for us. Really, that EV space, the semiconductor thing, and the fire that we had in the one semiconductor plant in Japan, all of that stuff is going to mitigate the returns that we see on Tesla being in the EV space. And within a large part of 2021, really until we can catch up with the whole where the supply can catch up with the demand for the semiconductors. So let me summarize. The growth stocks, the high-tech stocks, even some of the travel stocks, I didn't mention those before, but the cruise stocks just got roasted by the CDC today. So I think we went from having those in green to start the day to go in red, and a big swing the other direction. these sell-offs, they're likely going to continue to happen, but in volatile ways. So you're going to see strength come back in as those prices drop and people treat them as buying opportunities. So we'll probably have some good green days, followed by some more, I don't know if you want to call them good red days. Really, what I try to do is, if I'm going to sell any of my stocks, I try to make sure that they happen on green days. If I'm going to buy any stocks, I try to do that on red days. And in some ways, if you want to make like a swing trade kind of strategy out of this volatility that we have, if you're able to somewhat play green versus red, you might be able to find some sort of workable system. But if you, depending on your level of experience and how much time you're willing to put into researching the things that move the markets, that could be a tricky game to play. So just be careful out there. The Chinese EV companies, they should come back to strength. Some of this will wear off. We won't always have the same market bias. We'll see the prices come back. At some point in time, they're going to bounce. So if we do have cash on the side still, keep, just tiny bits at a time. Use a little bit of that cash on the side as we have these red days, and add into your strong conviction plays that you have. And just be careful of the stocks, the companies that don't really have the sort of strength that you want right now. So for me, like ABML, I like the position that I have. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not going to buy into the dips on it right now because I would like to see more evidence of their progress, of their development. I want to see the actual groundbreaking of the construction of their plant, and then that'll bring back some of my faith in their company that I'm sort of questioning right now. It's a small position of my total portfolio. It is way less than 1%. So for me, if it goes to zero, I don't want to lose that money. I'd rather have it be a good investment, but it's not something that's going to drastically change my financial situation. So please be aware with stocks like that you want to make sure, if you are going to invest, that you don't compromise yourself financially in doing so. BNGO, we're going to be waiting for the big returns on that one anyway. I think that they do have a good thing going, and as long as they can keep that momentum going, then we're going to see much greener days in the months and in the years ahead. Skills, well, the share dilution's coming. Even if they didn't mean to file the warrant redemption at some point in time, they'll probably do a warrant redemption. And when it does, it's going to dilute the shares. We're going to have a drop in the share price, at least for the day in the short term. And eventually, if they stay a good, strong play, again, we'll see that stock come back to strength, return those gains. Gnog, sort of the same thing. The strength should come back. The price target being set from 27 down to 24 by the one company today. Again, they expect it. They're bullish on it, just not as bullish as they were, and that's also something that's going to drop it down. That's going to be downward pressure. At least they maintain the buy rating, and it's still a significant upside from where it's at. ABML, I already spoke about them. Roblox, love the idea of them. I think that they're going to be a strong company moving forward. I'll nibble a little bit on this day today when it's down as far as it is. I definitely didn't want it at 70. I kind of wanted it closer to 60, but at 65 I'm at least willing to entertain the thought. Snow, I like Snow. Great company, and really has a lot of business going forward already, and I think that they'll continue to grow as the years go by, and at the depressed price that they're at now, I'll nibble on those too. Tesla, I'm thinking about nibbling a couple shares there as well. So those are the thoughts that I have for the day. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon or signing up for Webull and depositing your $100 to get you 2 free stocks, those links are down in the description. Remember, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research and due diligence. Contact a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. I'm Dr. Stock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.